This is why I really think we might be on our way to falling backwards into a neoliberal UBI, because we are functionally, as an American economy, not here to make things. Yes, we do make things. We grow things, we manufacture things. But most of the growth of manufacture is done at the heart of empire, the way Marx assumed it would be, by the greatest degree of technological innovation, or technological intensity, the most mechanized process. What the rest of us do is hang around and buy stuff from the rest of the world, equalize the global supply so that we don't have a crisis of overaccumulation, which is what caused the Great Depression, which is what has caused historically economic crises. The U.S. exists at the end of the global supply chain to catch all of the remainder, to get all the leftovers off of all the plates at the all-you-can-eat restaurant. But we're still operating off of a labor paradigm, which means we have to work for the money we get to consume. That's totally unnecessary. That is a social ritual at this point. It is not productive. Like, all of the labor we're doing is ritualized because we cannot accept the reality that we have traded away our political subjectivity for unlimited consumption. And that means that the only way to square this and to keep the thing going is to just put a fucking funnel of money into people to allow them to consume, not related, but not conditionally upon their income, because the profits are going down. There is no room on the balance sheet for more money through employment, because these aren't real jobs. So there's no pressure to get a bigger labor share of income, because there's no leverage, because it's not real work. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that real work doesn't get done, but the real work is domestic, reproductive, and infrastructural. It's the stuff that allows us to sit around and consume. That's real labor. And yeah, working in the retail sector, being the person to give the food and the stuff to people and running up the purchases, that's real labor. But it is all around consumption. It is not around production. And yes, nursing and like keeping people alive, all of those things are infrastructural. But it is not productive. Productive economics occur elsewhere. Because, and this is the thing, the capitalism is going to, in its closed system, is going to be pushed towards automation. But when you have an unequal development of global capitalism, and you have huge numbers of people who are only recently been introduced into market relationships from fucking rural feudalism, then you can turn them into incredibly cheap labor, which will not put pressure at the local level to industrialize. And that's what we have now. So in the places where, like in Europe, where labor power was able to extract better conditions, there's still industrial economics happening. And but here there is none. There is no productive economy in the United States. The productive economy is elsewhere, either with the people who got a better deal in Europe, or people working with their hands in the cheap zones of the world economy, which have not been developed yet. Now, theoretically, over time, you would get a system where you had full equal development of capitalism as it spread around the world. But that requires infinite inputs. It requires infinite resources, infinite externalities. Shit, we don't have those. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, there is one thing. There are two things we actually export as part of this system, but they are things to keep this thing going. They're the things that keep all these things, all these polities, all these countries, all these social formations. This is what keeps them all on the team. This is what keeps that flow coming to the United States, because it's not just there to consume. It's there to consume at the expense of other social orders, because what do we export? Intellectual property and weapons. Those are the things that enforce and currency, the world global reserve currency. Those things create the actual structures of control within the global economic order. But our social role within it, as individual Americans, is to consume, not have any participation in the actual political structure or the political economic structure. It is to consume. We traded away our political subjectivity, and now we fake politics. And now we have a phony politics carrying out that we do a Potemkin politics to make up for it. Now, this is not on purpose. This is the problem that a lot of your Americanist, like third worldist types, your people who just like get off on being the most radical and the most America-hating get off, is they think that this is all some sort of cynical operation on behalf of the disgusting American labor aristocrat. No. This is this is what happens when you are at a disadvantage, like America's working class has been. Because we were where capitalism was able to solve temporarily the input question in a way European capitalism couldn't, it left the American working class at a critical disadvantage relative to capital. And we look to Europe and we see the emergence of socialist parties and social revolution, and we go, what did we do wrong? We didn't really do anything wrong. What happened is that the territory, the material base was different. The free real estate of the West allowed all social conflicts to be resolved away from a moment of truth. In Europe, those closed national social orders, those competitive national bourgeois, all competing against each other instead of cooperating, instead of subsuming their differences, because it drives away from any kind of coordination. When unsynthesized into like a larger form of state authority, like the United States did to the Confederacy, it blows up into some sort of social crisis. You get communism, you get fascism, you get a real class conflict that gets subsumed into politics.